Stubbs the Zombie is a relic of a bygone era in video games. The not for kids but the juvenile PS2 and original Xbox era. As a result, there's not really much nuance to Stubbs. I mean, this is a game where an entire level consists of pissing into a water supply because you want to kill as many people as possible? I understand that this game was developed with the idea of causing as much mayhem and destruction as possible, but so was GTA San Andreas, which was released a year before this game, and that game had a gripping narrative with realized characters and hateable antagonists, with morally grey heroes. But I shouldn't laud its praises too much. I never was able to follow that damn train, and therefore only ever waded shallowly into that particular pool. So, with the understanding that this isn't a very mature game, and most of the fantastic ideas like the aesthetic and setting of the game have nothing to do with the story, let's unfairly critique this game made for kids. The story concerns our character, the titular Stubbs, wanting to gorge, devour, shred, and infect the entire city of Punch Bowl. See, I'm already not on board with this plot. Why do I want to infect this city? Did Andrew Monday kill everyone who lived on this land and then built his city on top of it? Was I fired from my job, evicted from my apartment, mugged and stabbed by hoodlums, and then when I lay dying on the streets as my vision began to blur, beg for help from anyone as the population walked by, never lending a hand or calling for help? See, while that motivation isn't justified from an objective viewpoint, it would make me, the player, angry or sympathetic enough to go through with the ruthless butchering of these people. But Stubbs' real motivation is far more profound. It's a more sophisticated, meaningful quest of vengeance. Stubbs wants something that can't be bought, traded, or stolen. It makes Eren Yeager's genocide look tame by comparison. Stubbs the Zombie's one and only goal is to get his cold, green, shriveled, putrescent dick wet. Okay, I get that it matches the tone you've set with the game, and while it's admittedly funny, either out of absurdity, or in hindsight, since this is only revealed at the end of the game, and you can look back at all the chaos you've caused, and realize that everything that happened was blown way out of proportion for what was ultimately a mundane goal. But wouldn't it have been better if I knew that at the start of the game? Instead, I assumed this whole time I was devouring people because Stubbs thought it was funny. Although, looking back on it, Stubbs himself seems unconcerned in the creation of a cataclysm, and it was really me, the player, who was doing all the murder. I refuse to read any further into that train of thought because I know for a fact that any speculation of me, the player, being the true villain in a game with a dedicated fart button would be over-analytical, and more importantly, giving this game far too much credit for what could easily be explained away as maximizing gameplay time while making the story secondary or even minimizing the narrative as much as possible. The plot's tone is meant to be zanily crude, in a sort of Family Guy way. Rebel Without a Pulse seems to relish in the idea of a Saturday morning cartoon for adults, but I can't believe I'm saying this, it's more childish than Family Guy. I can't picture anyone over the age of 15 getting a genuine laugh out loud moment from this game, which clashes with its mature rating. So were the developers hinging on GameStop employees selling the game to kids, and parents just not checking to see if it was age appropriate first? I mean, who is this game for? The kids and teenagers who can't play it? Or the young adults who won't find it funny? However, just because Stubbs clearly wasn't justified in his carnage, doesn't mean Punch Bowl didn't deserve it. I mean, if you hit someone with your car, you're probably not justified, but on the other hand, if that person was a time-traveling Hitler, you're not necessarily a bad person. Let's examine the facts. At the beginning of the game, Stubbs is going to be arrested and detained by 2 police officers for the crime of appearing to be homeless? Even though they have no evidence that Stubbs has committed murder, which he did 30 seconds ago, they arrest him claiming that he's stinking up the place. This reasoning implies that the laws in Punch Bowl could be designed to protect the image of a perfect metropolis, rather than the denizens dwelling within. That is blatant, elitist discrimination. Just because Stubbs is in shambles, he's going to be arrested? Maybe it's just these policemen, because if you thought modern-day police were racist, you would not believe how racist the 50s were. So racist, in fact, that there are no people of color. So did Punchbowl go through a cleansing? Because there are open racists roaming the streets, but there's no one to be on the receiving end of their hatred. How messed up was Punchbowl before Stubbs arrived? Was it a city of the elite, wealthy and white, who hid behind their ivory walls to live in luxury, while the rest of America slogged by in the slums, and their penance arrived in the form of Stubbs to spread a plague on all their houses? Why does that sound familiar? Jesus Christ, is this Masque of the Red Death? With a dedicated fart button? That's like Duke Nukem Forever parodying Hamlet! Stubbs the Zombie is an admittedly fun concept of a zombie apocalypse spoofage, but I struggle to praise any game with a dedicated fart button. While I may be guilty of overanalyzing this game in this review, I'd like to give the developers the benefit of the doubt that I touched on some truths in this video. Stubbs the Zombie is a juvenile story, but it's one with some amusing moments, which is something I never thought I'd say about a game with a dedicated fart button.